Peace, everyone. Greetings. Welcome to the ReachOut Roundtable. I'm your host, Honey Lee, and also the founder of the ReachOut Organization. This podcast is an extension of ReachOut, and here at ReachOut Roundtable, or ROR for short, we just want to come together and share a lot of various perspectives and experiences with you all from individuals that we know are working in our community to make a difference. As many of you all know, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and in 2020, we hosted a virtual roundtable talk with some phenomenal individuals. So we hope you enjoyed this interview as you hear a few of the good bits and pieces and gems from that interview roundtable talk that we had. Thank you to all of our supporters. Continue to give us feedback on whatever you'd like to hear more of, and follow us on Instagram or like our Facebook page at 20ReachOut19. W, as you all know, let's see, I'm not really from anywhere. I went to Edwardsville High School. I went to SAU Edwardsville for undergrad. Let's see, how old am I? I'm 23, and
early.
That's cool. And what was the last thing? Some of my hobbies, I love to read, I love to sleep and travel, and eat and spend time with my family. Yeah, I think that's I did this little roundtable talk through my nonprofit called ReachOut, just doing like one community service, well, at least one community service event per month, because I'm passionate about outreach. I think I learned that in undergrad, and yeah, that's what I got. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
Go ahead. All right. So I am Deanna Latimer, but also known as Dee Marie. I met Amelia at one of my events that I had through Charlene, because I know Charlene and I both work at Wells Fargo. So let me back up. So I'm 45 years old, so I'm one of the older ones out of them. I actually have a few things going on. I have an organization, Moving Forward Ministries, and we actually help adult survivors of sexual abuse through outreach, through support groups and advocacy. And then also, I just recently, this year, launched a magazine, which is called VOSAS Magazine, and it stands for Voices of Sexual Abuse Survivors. And the magazine is to uplift survivors, and it's awesome. It's not like, because I know it's a heavy topic, but this actually gives people hope, and it's really, really encouraging. So it is to inform, encourage, and empower. So I have 2 issues out, January, and it's a quarterly magazine, so before a year. So far we've done January and April. So it is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. And the people that submit the stories, so it's not just me writing, it's actually survivors that submit their stories, and the stories, I get blessed by them. They're just really, really, truly phenomenal. My hobbies, I don't even know if I even have hobbies. I'm an empty nester now, so I have 3 kids. Well, not now because we're all shut in, so my daughter's home from college, but I have 3 kids, 22, 21, and 18. They were my hobbies all these years, so now my hobby really is the magazine and my friends, and that's about it. I'm excited for tonight, though.
Yes. Okay, well, I'll go. My name is Lady Poetic, DJ Lady Poetic, Tay Love, all those names. I am, how am I? 24. I'm 24. I'll be 25 next month.
True.
Man, I met Amelia through SIUE and Edwardsville. Like, we went to high school together. I am from Illinois, Illinois and St. Louis. Kind of a little bit. But I was very happy when Amelia asked me to be a part of this panel, this roundtable discussion. It is a very sensitive topic, And everybody's story is different, but everybody's story still has power, no matter how severe or maybe not severe. Either way, you made it out and you have a story to tell. So I really love that this panel and this roundtable talk. I do feel like this is going to be a really good night. I know Amelia wanted to do a little bit of a Q&A later on, and I'm excited about that part because I want to have the conversation going. I want to make sure everybody is included. And even if you don't have anything to say, I pray that whatever we said helps you or helps whoever is listening or still, you know, talking or wherever the case may be. I pray that you still get touched, get helped, everything. So I'm excited. Woo, let's go.
And as we dive more into this conversation, we definitely were all very excited to get together at this round table because it's not many spaces and it's not often where we're able to come together and discuss things that we've been through and how we can overcome. And as one of our guests mentioned, Dee Marie, she does have a magazine, VOSAS magazine, brings stories of sexual abuse survivors to life in order to inform, encourage, and empower. They're focusing on changing the narrative. So you can I would definitely recommend that you go to the website, or you can like the Facebook page, VOSAS Magazine, and you can go to visit their website, issuu.com/VOSASLLC, to get all the other details that you need, because this is a shameless plug. Our podcast will always be shameless plugging the people that we support and the people that come on our show, because it is very important we support one another. And it's also important that we're around people that are doing great things in our community. We're around people that are working in their purpose just to make effective change around us. And as our other guest, DJ Lady Poetic, said, we definitely pray that this conversation is something that will bring understanding to anything you may be going through or the people around you. We hope that it speaks to you and just teaches you something new and allows you to want to become more active and engaged in anything that you're passionate about related to your purpose. And DJ Lady Poetic is also someone that you should follow. She is an amazing poet, an amazing DJ. I always love visiting her in the studio and listening to her when she's live and in action. Of course, because of COVID, we've had to switch a little bit of things up. And so she has transitioned into sharing her poetry through her Instagram and her Facebook. So you all can also follow her at DJ Lady Poetic. Poetic is spelled PO3TIC. And she always has great insight, just like this conversation, and is very inspiring and very woman empowering. So definitely check out our two guests and take a listen to our interview from April 2020.
Open mic is, another way of saying spoken word. They say respect the floor. So if one person's talking, you just respect what they say, even if you may not necessarily agree or, disagree with constructive words, if you will. So let's go ahead and jump right in. One of our first questions, well, actually, DJ Poetic, would you like to start with something related to what we talked about earlier?
Yes, okay. Actually, yes.
So one of the questions that I had prepared was, do you always confront individuals that may have offended you or hurt you in the past? Is that a mandatory step towards healing?
So that question does actually it has everything to do with what we talked about earlier. And I believe there's a way to confront who may have hurt you, but that's not always the best idea. Best idea to confront the person who may have hurt you, because at the end of the day, after you confront that person, yeah, you may have confronted them, but how is that going to leave you feeling? Because then you got to think about the response you're going to get.
Yeah.
You can confront them and pour your heart out, but if the person is just like, okay, whatever, that's not really going to help you. So the main idea, or the main thing for me personally, is to work on yourself, or myself, and work on how to handle it, not worry about the other person, and make sure that you are okay at the end of the day. And I do, for example, me and Amelia were talking earlier, there was a situation that happened with me, actually April of 2018, where I had an encounter with a guy that I actually went to high school with. He was a few years older than me, but I went to high school with him, and we reconnected through a group of friends, and we were all just kind of hanging out one day, and it was just the four of us, kind of like a double date thing. My best friend, her guy, me, and him. It was a cool night or whatever. My best friend and her guy left. He was on his way out, and he turned and he stayed for a little bit. You know, it got intense. It got a little bit intense. We started to kiss and, you know, be close or whatever, but I realized that I didn't want to go that far. And because I knew him, and because we had known each other for so long, I figured, okay, he's cool. I'll say, no, I'm cool. We'll stop. That didn't quite go like that. He decided that he thought I was joking and that he knew what I wanted. So as I'm, you know, saying, you know, actually, no, I'm cool. I'm going to, you know, pack up. You know, we played games. I was like, I'm going to pack up the stuff, put it in my room. You can go ahead and just go. Like, I know we had an intense moment. It was an intense moment, but I don't want to do that tonight. I didn't know that when I went into my room, he had followed me in there. I didn't see him. I didn't hear him, anything. So when he came up behind me, I was like, yo, I didn't invite you in my room. Can you leave? He decided that that was a joke too. He went to turn off my light, and he went to approach me, kind of like had me trapped up against like my closet and my wall. So as I'm pushing him off, he still finds it's funny, and I'm not sure why. So I finally get extremely strong armed, as you can say. You know, my strength kind of came out a little bit. So I pushed him off. You know, he finally was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna leave, it's whatever. He went to apologize, and I was like, it's fine. I'm walking him to the door, and where the door was, my kitchen was close to the door. Walking to the door, thinking he's going out the door, I go to the kitchen. He comes in, he was like, look, I just want a hug, I apologize. So I'm like, okay, I give him a hug. He intends to do that. He tends to start again, turn off the light, lock me in a situation. At this point, he's strong-arming me to where I can't move, I can't go anywhere. He's forcing me up against the wall. Like, it's a whole situation. Part I forgot about, while we were in my room, while he was forcing me against my closet and my wall, I moved, he pushed me to the bed, that type of thing, and then we moved to the kitchen, he kept going. So that situation wasn't as severe as it could have gotten, but at the same time, I think I was more messed up because this was somebody that I knew, you know, like somebody that I had known forever. We were friends. We had just had a really good night, and like me saying no meant nothing to him. So I was extremely upset after that situation. He finally leaves my apartment. The next day, he texts me and he said, you know what, I don't think this is working out. I think we should really just be friends. Like, I don't appreciate how last night went. You were very mean and blah, 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 blah. And I was kind of looking at my phone like, really? You know, like, was I mean, or were you mad because you didn't get what you thought you was going to get? You know, like, don't abuse a friendship, relationship, whatever that we had. So me and him had a back and forth, and that brings me back to the confronting situation. His response to me saying, no, this is what happened. I don't appreciate you doing this. Why did you do this? I thought we were close, blah, 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 blah. It was like talking to a wall. It went straight over his head. Nothing mattered. You know, he just didn't care. So I decided to leave that situation alone. I blocked him, didn't, you know, blocked the phone calls, texts, everything. Now, the very next day, as you know, my name is Lady Poetic, so I like to write poetry. So that actually inspired me to write a piece, and that piece is entitled No. And I performed that on WSIE through the SIUB radio station, and then I've performed it for people before. And that particular piece that's one of my biggest responsive pieces that I've ever written. And the responses always are, thank you for writing this piece. I understand this piece. I relate to this piece. I felt this piece, anything in that nature. And I thought about it after the fact because I was very upset that he didn't respond, like he didn't really care about what I was saying and how I felt about it. So I decided to write, but I'm glad that I did decide to write because what I wrote ended up helping people anyway. Even though I didn't feel like I should share the story, I didn't care about sharing the story. In a way, I still did, and it touched people because this is while I was at SIUE. He started going to the school there. He would still follow me around, text me, call me, even after him saying all of that. He would make it his business to find me on campus, talk to me, reach out to me, even though he was blocked. He was like, you should come over tonight. You should come over tonight. We'll talk about what happened the other night. You should come over tonight. Like it got uncomfortable for me. And me and Amelia were actually talking about this morning because he actually called me yesterday after 2 years, hadn't heard from him since 2018. He called me yesterday, and this is back in 2018. This was when he was approaching me on campus, and I would say, I don't talk to you. I don't want any communication with you. I'm fine. We're good. Still 2 years later, he calls me. He leaves me a voicemail yesterday saying, I heard that you was going to be on this Facebook Live thing, meaning this, because he saw the flyer for this event. I'm so proud of you. You know, that's a really good look for you. You know, you should hit me up later. As if nothing had ever happened, as if I hadn't verbally said, I do not want communication with you. You are blocked. You are this, you are that. And even when I got that voicemail, it shook me up. And I think I was more so upset because it was still like he disregarded everything. You still feel the need that it's okay to contact me. You think we're cool. You think everything is fine after this long. And I said, you know what? That's okay. Because like I said before, that confronting moment for him to not even care about what I was talking about transformed it to me writing a piece that spoke the words that I needed to speak and help people around me. So I'm still very thankful for that situation. And I'm thankful for this platform because this is like super great. And I want people to know, like we said earlier, if you don't want to talk, if you're just here to listen, that's great too. But hopefully something helps you all. You know, like hopefully something helps somebody, even if you haven't been through a situation, hopefully it just helps you just be aware and recognize the month that it is. As I was telling Amelia earlier, I didn't even realize it was Sexual Assault Awareness Month for this time of the year. And for this situation to happen this month, 2 years ago, I thought that was a little bit symbolic.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a lot I've been reading about, and a few different shows have talked about it, how even the action of saying no clearly, you know, verbally saying no, verbally saying goodbye, things of that nature, they still don't always get the point across. And that happens to so many more women than we may realize. I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Miss Lady P. Do you mind sharing the poem? Because I recall hearing this poem, and I think that would be very fitting for our occasion. But only if you want to.
No, I will. I wasn't prepared, so excuse me. Let me go grab my book real quick. It's over there. Okay. I'll do it.
Miss D, did you have anything to add to what she was just mentioning?
Yeah, actually I do. So, and I'll shorten it. Don't make it too long. So my story, so I was sexually abused at the age of 3. Me and my sister, I was 3, she was 4. It was a relative, a cousin. He actually raped us. And you know how people can go on and on and on. I don't remember the length of time because I was so little. But we went 30 plus years without saying a word. And we finally spoke up. And when we did, I actually kind of decided to confront my abuser. Now, mind you, all these years, we never spoke a word. We never really talked to each other about it. And so when I did confront him, he immediately said we were lying. He said he didn't understand why we would make this up. He said, I believe something happened to you, but it wasn't me. And that just brought a rage out of me, because I was like, now I held this for 30 years. Now I'm coming to tell you, and you would tell me I'm lying. And so confronting, it really just depends on your situation. It's not for everybody. We had just told our mom, we had just told like another relative. So when we confronted him, and even though he lied, and it made me so angry, but that anger actually pushed me into helping other people. I did not want to even deal with it anymore, but because I confronted him, and when he did say that we were lying, but that allowed me to take that anger, but use it for good. So from that moment, I guess about a year later, is when I began the nonprofit to help other survivors. I mean, it's a longer story than that, but that's just kind of the short version. Yeah. And so I'm actually free from it, though. I actually felt so much better when I told a relative, and then when we confronted him, because now it's like, I remember. By being so little, he didn't know if we remembered or not. But we did, and I was able to move past my pain. Now, if I could go back, would I confront him again? Probably so. But I would just tell anyone that is deciding if they should, it's really totally up to you. You do not have to. You can still heal and not confront the person. But if you feel like you can't get closure and that's part of your healing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You have every right. This, my shirt says your voice has a right to be heard. So if you want to be heard, you absolutely have that right. This is your story. It is your truth. And that's one thing I had to realize, that this was my truth. And it was okay for me to speak up and tell, because a lot of times we don't, because we protect everyone else besides ourselves. And so once I decided, you know what, this is what happened to me, I acknowledged it, and I dealt with it, and I was able to heal and move forward.
Yay. Yes. Real quick, one more thing. I think the three of us, that was a point we did want to highlight, being able to continue, because I reached out to them similar to the rest of you on this call, because y'all are very inspirational to me. And I think one thing the three of us were talking about is the importance of being able to move through adversity, move through your pain, and continue to be successful and following your dreams, and DJing and starting your own nonprofit. So those are all really amazing things. So thank you for sharing that. Yay. I think we're ready now for the poetry.
Okay. All right. Okay, y'all. This is one piece I haven't quite memorized yet, Mom. I'm almost there. But this piece is entitled No. The word no, an adverb, a negative used to express denial or refusal, as in response to a question or a request. Therefore, I am requesting you to stop questioning when I tell you no. I have the right to go against you despite your attitude, because once I say no to the one who shows disrespect to the utmost level, I then will show no gratitude. Oh, you know, right? Like no mercy, no patience, no interest in pure acquaintanceship, kind of like when you physically tried to insult my intelligence. But unfortunately for you, my intellect is stronger than forced spread legs. No, I will not silence the inside cries, all because you desire to be in between thighs. No, I will not be still, simply because my pain-inflicted jittered flinches give you chills. No, I will not be subjected to darkness, because my God gave me strength to cast out much greater darkness than this. With your small itty-bitty Excuse me. Your unimpressive ego will not be stroked, but you can keep dreaming big though. I'd rather take pride in keeping my pride. My selfish ways, such as these, are more valuable than these hellish days. So let me be clear. I said no, and I will not repeat, because I can make the word no be the last thing you ever hear. Psst, no. Okay, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Not put you on the spot like that. Oh man. Okay.
Thank you for sharing.
I remember the first time I heard it and I was just speechless. I was like, and then when we had a open mic event of February 2019, she almost performed it. She was so close.
I was.
But yeah, it's a time for everything. So
yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
We can do one more. What time is it? Okay, we can do one more question. Another one that I really wanted to do, if you could go back to, I guess Ms. D, you sort of already answered this one, but if you could go back to a painful moment in your life and tell yourself a word of encouragement, what would you say? Would y'all like me to go first? Or?
Yeah, you can go first.
Yep.
Okay. This may not necessarily be like one specific moment, but a few different times where I was in pain or I was sad. I think I would go back and tell myself everything will be okay. I know that sounds like really simple out loud, but that's actually like been my mantra for like the last 6-7 months. It's like, everything will be okay. Everything will be okay. Like, just keep going. And so I think that's probably what I would go back and tell myself. And that pain is only temporary. I know that would probably have been really helpful for me, because when you're in the midst of it, it seems like so big and overwhelming and like a weight on you. But as we have sort of been saying throughout this conversation, just being able to move forward and push through the pain and focusing on yourself, improving yourself, and taking care of yourself are all things that will help it get better over time.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of that. If I were to go back into that moment, I would say there's always help, but you have to go and seek it. Like, don't be afraid to reach out. It's okay to talk. It's okay to not go through it by yourself.
Right.
Like, it's okay. And there's always somebody out there that may have went through the same exact thing, or just can have a word to speak over you. You never know. God could send people to say something to you and they have no idea who you are, what you're going through, but it's okay to speak out. If you're not in the position to receive that type of word, you're going to miss it. Yeah. If you're not in the position to receive the help, you're going to miss it. And you don't have to always take the hardest way through things. So, yep. Okay, great.
I was going to add to that as well. And one thing I would say to myself is don't fear, I guess, the future. That's what I should say. Or don't, because a lot of times we don't say anything, or because once the assault is over, then you kind of begin to heal a little bit if you really actually acknowledge it and deal with it. Yeah. But pain comes again when you begin to heal. And I think that's where my pain came in, is when I started taking that step to heal, because then I felt like I had to deal with this all over again. And then I had to tell people, and people had to find out. But now I can see I shouldn't have been afraid, but I was. So it's like, don't fear what's to come, because on the other side is just nothing but victory. So I would just encourage myself just to keep going. Don't give up. Even during those times where you kind of question, should I have even said a word or anything? Just know that if you keep going, there's victory on the other side.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, please. I was definitely going to say if you guys had any feedback, our audience, or if you want to switch to the Q&A, go ahead. Leah,
Thank you.
My long-term best friend. So Leah's on there. Shout out. Okay, go ahead.
No problem. Thank you for sharing, first of all. I had a question because I feel like at times people are afraid to say something, but what happens when you do share and people maybe don't receive it well, or I guess take it the way you think they will? I feel like I experienced that within some of my situations, is that I told somebody that was close to me both times a situation had happened, and they didn't know how to receive it or take it. So it kind of discouraged me from even moving towards that healing aspect, because I couldn't even, I'm kind of judging what I experienced based off of like my friend's reaction, and they're kind of like brushing it underneath the carpet in a sense. So, how do you deal with that type of situation? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it totally makes sense. So when I decided to tell, to me, it's almost, you have to find that trusted person. It's kind of, sometimes it's hard because you don't know how some people will take it, because I had friends and relatives that totally brushed me off, and they didn't want to hear it, which was surprised me, because I felt like this is my story, so you should receive it because you love me. Yeah. But the truth is, even people close to you, there's many reasons why they just don't want to hear, but it's finding that one trusted person that you can talk to. I did have one friend that she listened to me every time, because, I held this for 30 years. So I had 30 years worth of conversation, and no one wanted to hear, but I had this one trusted friend, and she listened to me all the time. And there was a quote, I think it was from T.D. Jakes. He said, and I don't know it word by word, but basically, if you can find that one trusted person that you can tell your truth to, because everyone, unfortunately, is not. But also, I had to realize this is my story. There's tons of people, even now, and I've been talking for the past 8 years, but there's still people that don't want to listen to what I'm saying, and it does discourage me, even to this day. I've been on the news, I've been on everywhere, but I still get discouraged. But I have to remember, this is my story, and my story is going to help other people. So I look at it as if, you may not want to hear it, but there's someone that's going to get touched and their lives are going to change because of me. Sometimes it gets discouraging, but I would just encourage you just to keep telling your story. But just to find that one trusted friend, that will listen to you, because unfortunately they all will not. Just keep telling it.
Yeah. And I eventually did find that. It was actually in one of my graduate courses. Something ended up happening, and I felt support from like people I barely knew.
Exactly.
So I eventually got there, but it took like 4 people, and it's like, it's like a dagger every time you have to like express it, say it again and like relive it. So
yes,
that was discouraging and kind of stopped me from saying anything for about 3 years, because my friends didn't take it well. So but thank you. Yes, it takes time.
And that's why, Amelia, too, this is why it's great to have platforms like this, right? Because you find yourself with like people who understand, and we know, because we believe one another. And that's why it's great to have like support groups, to have platforms like this. So people who may not have anyone they can talk to, this is a forum where you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yay.
We did have a request, Miss D, before we go into any other questions, a question about more information on how to get the magazine and how much the magazine is?
Okay, so yes, actually so the magazine is free. It's a digital magazine, so you can read it right on your computer, your tablet, or your phone. It's called VOSAS Magazine. You can go to our Facebook page, VOSAS Magazine, or so it is on a platform called Issue, which is, you can go to the website, issuu.com, issue.com, and search for VOSAS Magazine. But if you go to our Facebook page, you can click on the link and it'll take you right to it.
Okay. You said Issue.
Thank you for asking. Yeah, issuu.com. And you can, in the search field, just search for VOSAS, VOSAS Magazine.
Okay, I'll just drop that in the chat so everyone can see that part.
Mom, did you get that? I see you trying to catch it. Did you get it?
I'm trying to.
Yeah. I see my mom was trying to catch it.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Can I say something? First, again, as other people have said, I want to echo and applaud you all for doing this and creating a safe space for people to just speak. One of the main reasons that I'm on here, Miss D, I want to let you know that you helped me with something that you said about when you made the statement about don't be afraid of the future. I'm 45 years old and going through something right now where I was afraid of the future. So that helped me. But what I wanted to say was one of the main reasons I'm on here is to support my daughter. Taylor is Miss Lady P, that's my daughter. Because as I told her, I'm so very proud of the fact that she recognizes her voice and is not afraid of speaking her truth, which is something that I've always, tried to instill in her. So I wanted her to know that I support that and that I support, this platform as a whole. Because as a parent, there was a situation in the family years ago. Taylor was like 5. And she was, it was a sexually misconduct situation with a cousin. And when someone was asking the question about what do you do when you speak out and people don't respond positively, well, it pretty much divided our family to the point that this cousin's mother is Taylor's godmother and my aunt, my mother's sister. She told us we were no longer welcome in her home. And it divided the family. At that time, and it took me years to forgive myself because I felt like I didn't protect her. Does that make sense? I felt like I did not do what I needed to do to protect her. I did not want to press charges against my cousin. I wanted to get him some help. But
sorry guys, my dog. Let me get my dog real quick. Yeah.
It divided the family. And because that scared me so bad, I retreated. And I protected her in private, if that makes sense. I consoled her. I let her know that I was there. I let her know that, whatever. But I did not take the steps. I felt like I didn't take the steps that I needed to take. So because of that, it took a long time for me to forgive myself. And it was a long process of healing, I think, for myself, for her, and for us as a mother and daughter dynamic. And from that point on, I always told her, no matter what, no matter who, speak your truth. And if nobody else is there, I'm going to be there with you when the chips fall. Because I never wanted that to happen to her again. So, it just made me like a super,
super
supporter. That's not the word I'm looking for, but a super supporter of people who have no voice or feel like they have no voice, because I was like, there will never be another day. Like, my child will never, ever feel like I didn't protect her another day in her life. And I had to forgive myself for that. It took a long time, and it was a very long process, even with our mother-daughter dynamic. So I'm very proud of you. Continuously speak it. Girl, don't, okay. You know, okay, let me see if I can do that. You know, I'm 45, the young kids, I don't know if I can.
There you go, put it together, there it is.
So and this is awesome, and thank you for whoever asked about Miss D's magazine, because I did want to get that information. I had went through some sexual abuse myself as a teenager, and which was the other reason why when it happened to my child, it brought those things back up. It brought those things back up, because what happens is if you don't heal from it, it shapes how you respond and react in all your future relationships.
Yes.
And with response to confronting, again, I think Ms. D put it perfectly. That's your personal choice, because here's the thing. If you make a decision to confront someone, whether it's that or anything else, you have to be okay with them not responding the way that you want them to respond. Because if you're expecting the response that you want and you don't get that, you're defeated before you go in the game.
Yeah.
So that's important. So it is definitely your choice. If you choose to confront, be okay with being free, as Ms. D said, just being free from it and not expecting a particular response. If you choose not to respond, you still have to deal with it to get your healing, because if you don't, and I'm a witness, if you don't heal from that, you'll be years later down the road trying to figure out where the root started. So that's another reason why I'm constantly, you know, like with Taylor, like, yeah, and I'm a big proponent of therapy. Huge.
Yes.
Huge proponent of therapy. I have a regular one. And in the Black community, unfortunately, that's not, you know, it's always been taboo. I love the Lord, and I believe him with everything, but I also go to my therapist.
Come on, girl.
As well as pray. So that's, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent, but that's, you know, I just wanted to, you know, say all that. I think this is amazing. You know, Amelia, you know, I love you. You know, since, you know, but this is just great. And when I saw this today, I just was like, oh my, I just told Taylor, I was like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I'm just, you know, just you all continue to do this as young women, because youth your age, young ladies, you all are dealing with things that we didn't deal with when we were 20 and 25 years old.
Exactly.
Like, it's just magnified. So to create platforms like this for your peers, if you all don't know how powerful and impactful it is, trust and believe. As Miss D said, don't be afraid of the future, because trust and believe, it's more powerful and impactful than you know. Because it's too many of you all dying in silence. Suffering in silence, dying on the inside, you know, putting a smile on your face on the outside, but literally dying on the inside is going on too often. So continue with this. And I support any kind of way I can.
Yes.
That's
Sorry.
No, you was preaching, girl. Because I'm 45 too. And,
yes.
And I'm with you. I applaud these young ladies. Like, if only at your age I was able to have the courage to even speak up. You know,
Yes.
I was married at 22 in a marriage I should never have been in. You know, 22, didn't even know myself. He didn't know my history. He didn't know why I act the way I act. I didn't even know why I act the way I acted, you know, but you are you're allowing yourselves to heal, and you can move on and have a healthy future. It took me to 40, 45, well, I guess a few years, maybe my late 30s, to actually begin my path to a healthy future. You know, I've raised kids. and thank God that they are phenomenal kids. But, when you're broken, then there's so many aspects of your life that becomes broken.
Yes.
And for you all to do this, I'm trying not to talk as much because I want you guys to really talk, because that for your age, and people your age are not really talking about this for real. And we know it's happening. We know it's been happening. But no, I agree. I applaud you guys 1,000%.
I kind of want to piggyback off of something you said, though. A lot of people our age aren't talking about it. And I want to point out why I chose to do the most recent situation versus the situation that my mother was talking about. Because my situation was not as severe as it could have gotten. But I also feel like there's a lot of people who think because it wasn't so severe, it's not worth talking about.
Yep.
It's not worth saying, oh, well, I'll be okay. He didn't do as much, because even guys go through it. She didn't do that as much. He didn't do as much. Like, it's not that bad. It's still a thing. If you're saying no and you feel like you were violated or in harm in any way, shape, or form, it's still a story. You still have to heal from that. Because someone reached out to me earlier, one of my friends, when I posted the flyer on my Snapchat, and he was like, I didn't know that you went through something like this. That's so traumatic. And I said, well, actually, physically, I was fine. Mentally, it messed me up because of who the person was, the relationship I thought we had. Even though it wasn't as severe, I felt threatened. And that's still enough. That's still enough to talk about. So don't ever feel like your situation isn't as horrible as the next person. It's still a situation. And there's still somebody out there to help you talk about it. Yep.
Definitely. Thank all of you for the feedback. I want to piggyback off a few of those things. The first thing being when Miss Lady P just mentioned how we might compare one situation to the other. I think when I did Miss D's Stroll to Heal the Soul the first year, that was one of the most impactful things I was able to notice, that they identified as survivors, a word that will help you realize you can continue to move on and you can be empowered and you're not a victim to what happened to you in the past. So I really think the terminology we use, and like everyone was saying, the support that you have around you, you definitely have to find the support in the right places. It may not always be easy to find, but when you find the support, those are all the things that will help you to keep going. Another thing you all had mentioned I wanted to touch on was, it just left me. We were talking about healing. And I think it is important to remember if you're healing from a traumatic experience or if you're just healing as far as personal growth, as Ms. D mentioned, like learning who you are and knowing who you are. Healing is always going to take time. I think that's something we don't always think about. We think, okay, I'm going to, be in my word and I'm going to talk to this one person close to me, or I'm going to talk to my therapist, and in a month I'll be good. Boom, I'm fixed. But I think it's important to realize that it might always take longer than what we initially think, but just continue to work on healing is what the focus should be, and not how long it takes to heal. And and Miss D said one more thing. I'm trying to remember. I should have wrote it down.
Bring it back. It's coming back. It's coming back.
That's okay. Were there any other questions? Anybody?
Can I make one more comment?
Yes.
There's someone else.
You want to talk? Well, go ahead, D.
No. Go ahead. Whoever that was.
Well, I didn't want to tell too much of my story, go too deep, because I plan on contributing to the magazine at some point.
Awesome! Yeah.
But just so proud of her. Like I said, we've been Amelia and I have been supporting. I think we've been to every walk, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Starting off doing it. And just listening to Lady Covington here telling her story, and I wrote down, yeah, everybody can't handle your truth. And even in your own family, they can't handle your truth. Because like in my case, I do quick summary, from 9 to 16, I was abused by my stepfather, but I watched my mother being physically abused. So that keeps you scared to tell anybody or to tell that story, because you get the threats from the abuser, I'll kill her, I'll hurt your brothers and sisters. And that's just a control mechanism. At some point, it becomes survival. Your own survival is more important than anything. So I remember that day very clearly at 16 saying, I'm sorry, family, but I got to survive. So, telling my story at 16 and going to the police department, telling my story, being examined, all that stuff. And then they said that we dropped the case, my mother and I, but we never dropped the case. We think that one of his relatives called and dropped the case. And so I was prepared to go and tell my story again to the police department. But my mom said, well, he is the father of your other three siblings. Maybe we should drop it. Well, so I applaud you mothers for supporting your daughters on that, because at that point, I think that's when I totally grew up and realized is me, kind of against the world type thing, and was like determined just to get out of high school. And I just I read every article and everything that you can have on the topic in books, and realized I'm not going to be like those girls, because a lot of the young ladies who start using drugs, they get into other bad relationships, they don't live the life that God has set for them. And I always had that in my spirit, that I knew I was, it wasn't my fault. I was a victim who became a survivor. But from 16 to 36, it took me 20 years. And at a women's conference, and the lady said, well, everyone who's been abused, come forward for prayer. And literally, I screamed at the top of my lungs. It was like I was having an out of body experience. And I heard her say, let her scream because it's been too long. That's where you get that silence from. That silence, you hold that in, you got to get that out some kind of way. You got to tell your story. You have to do something. So once I got that out my system, I'm just one of those people, I just went hard, right? I wrote a book, I had a radio show, I contributed to the book, and, I just did a lot, having a nonprofit, doing newsletters. I'm just like I'm getting healed, I'm helping, I got to help other people. But that sometimes is a mask too, when you're thinking you're helping other people without helping yourself. And that, D, you have to step back and make sure that you're okay and you're in one place before you can pour out to somebody else.
Exactly.
But once you do that, then you just start tagging other people, or you contribute to other people who are doing the work. And like in my case, my mom, she ended up, dying early at 39 years old from other medical issues. But, you have to realize that people are doing the best they can at that particular time. In the 70s, we didn't have women's shelters that we could just pick up and leave and go to, and counseling and all of that stuff that's available today for people who have, who go through abuse. But at some point, I had women who 80 years old and said they never told anybody. Or like Dee said, get married and never tell their husbands that they've been abused. They don't find out till 2-3 years in the marriage when certain way, and she's like, reacts a certain way, and he's like, what's up? I didn't know anything. So just reminding you, to, like you said, it's okay to get counseling, it's okay to get help, and to before you go all out there to help somebody else. But once you do that, we have an obligation to let to tag another sister and say there is life after this.
Yes.
You're not alone, like doing forums like this and just sharing our story, so we don't always have to go real deep, because like I said, everybody can't handle all the fights. But just know, hey, I don't look like what I've been through, as they say, right? And and so you can, you can survive, you can thrive, you can survive and thrive. So it's just on you to try to help somebody else. And like, I know my brothers and sisters were, you know, they were really upset. They were like, no, please don't tell this story. Please don't say this about, you know, our dad. Da, 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 da. But even their dad acknowledged, you know, what he did, and he knows he didn't do jail time, and that we know that's in the Black community. Just like that book that we did contribute to, that we shared, Dee, about how Black families can heal from sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
The book talks about how we protect and cover the people that do things in our family. One, because we don't want people to know it's in our family, or we're embarrassed about it. And we don't want that person to go to jail because now we know it's going to affect finances, maybe in the family, all kind of reasons why. But again, it comes down to your survival and whatever it takes to do that. Even if sometimes it may mean distancing yourself from your family. Like you said, it can split up, it definitely splits up a family.
Yeah.
It's like either you're on the right side or the wrong side. But long as you're still alive and there's a wake up to a new day, there's a chance for change. But forgiving, I remember when things happened to me, my grandmother, the first thing she said was, you got to forgive him. You got to forgive him. And I looked at her like, forgive him. He's the one with the issue. He's the one with the problem. And I didn't know at that time, like she said, you can't let that type of stuff eat you up. You got to release that and forgive them for yourself. Even if they don't know how to accept it. Some people don't even know how to accept your forgiveness. You have to even distance yourself from them, just at afar. You know, okay, I forgive you, but you don't have the space in my life anymore. You don't have access to me like that anymore. And I'm watching, and I will tell other people that, you know, that I'm concerned about, that you're around. So you have to let it be known that, you know, you're going to break this cycle. This is not going to be something that's going to continue with us and with our household, with our families. But just learn how to love at a distance. Sometimes that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing. The other thing I was going to say, we had shout out mothers earlier. I'll shout out my mom. She's on here too. And I assume Green Williams is my dad. So we thank everyone for coming to listen and talk with us and supporting us. Greatly appreciated. Do you have anything else, DJ, Lady Poetic?
This was a wonderful idea. And I am so thankful and happy that you wanted me to be a part of this. This is good. And I agree with Mom and Dee and everybody else. We should definitely continue this.
Yeah.
Wherever we can. This should keep going. And not even just about this topic, any topic. Just a safe haven for people to just come and listen if you don't want to talk, but just be a part of something that you know you're not alone in. Like, no matter what the topic is. This is great. This is great.
Awesome. Anything else, Miss D?
Yeah, I thought this was absolutely phenomenal. Just like Lady P said, this is a safe place for people to come and just to listen. And I just want to encourage whoever is listening, and this is your story, and maybe you have been afraid to tell. Just know, now you don't have to be public like, you know, I tell the world, but that's just my calling, you know, but it could be just one person. It doesn't have to be you tell everybody, but just know that you're not alone. It was not your fault. That healing is possible. There is hope. And like, I forgot your mom's name, Ms. Lady P. I forgot your mom's name.
Lady J, Miss J.
Miss J.
Miss J.
She loved Jesus, but you can have Jesus and a therapist too.
Come on.
You can have both. Because therapy is very, very, very important. It will help you heal. And just know that, and I just want people to know that after I really decided to tell my story and to get out, healing was not fun. Now, you don't just wake up and heal and all of a sudden you're just in the tulips and just, you know, the sun blazing. No, that's not what happens. You know, you crying and everything. But once you get to a point of freedom, it's just like I always say, like a scar. I have a scar on my arm right here when I burnt myself when I was younger. Now, when it first happened, it hurt. And then, you know, as you begin to heal, the scar is still there, but the pain is gone. So I remember what happened to me, but it no longer is painful for me. You know, I'm free. I can talk about it, and forgiveness, like Charlene said, it took me a minute to forgive, but I did, and it wasn't for him, and we don't talk, but it was for me to be able to move forward and to live my life, because I was bound to that unforgiveness. And when I let it go, then I was no longer chained to him, because when you don't forgive somebody, you are chained to that person. They've moved on, but you are holding on to them. And once you let them go, then you are free and you can go on with your life. And it's a process. And healing is a process. It's not an overnight thing, but it is definitely possible. So I just want to encourage you all that, you are survivors and now thrivers, as Charlene said. So this was really, really, really good.
I do want to say one more thing, though, in addition to what you were talking about. Talking about it and expressing it and letting it out, that's always a good route to go. But for someone maybe like me, I don't always like to talk about things. You can find different outlets to release that. I chose to write. I chose to express everything in poetry, or I would listen to certain music that'll like either lift my spirits up or find a song that is literally saying exactly what I'm thinking, but I can't formulate the words myself. Like it's different ways that you can express it. If you take your frustration out on playing a sport or, you know, doing something, any way that you can find to release that in the moment that's comfortable for you, I would say do that. But at the end of the day, talking it out is one of the best solutions. And like me and my mom is always, like she said, she's always been a therapy person. She's always said therapy works. I haven't always been like that. And I'm honestly still not even like that to this day. I'm on the fence still. It took me a while to even get on the fence, because I always thought I could handle it another way or internalize it.
Yeah.
But for me personally, writing has done so much for me in so many ways. But everybody has that thing. So even if you don't want to talk about it right in that moment, find your thing. Express it. Get it off of you some type of way. Never internalize it. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah. Because when you internalize it, it shows up in other ways.
Exactly.
It shows up in other ways. And that's what happened with me. Just one thing that Miss Charlene said about loving people from a distance and forgiving people, and learning how to do that. My pastor said something one Sunday, and that thing has stuck with me about forgiveness. It's for you. It's not for the other person. But you can forgive people and learn how to deal with them from afar. They can go to the same, you can go to the same places. Y'all can be on the same road. They just can't ride in your car.
Come on.
And when he said that, I said, something clicked. And I was like, okay. He was like, yeah, you can forgive people. And sometimes people tell you to cut people all the way off. And again, it's a personal thing, because you can all the way off, but it's how you deal with them. So y'all can be on the same street, y'all can be on the same neighborhood, but they just can't be in your car. I mean, you have to realize that they can't get up close anymore. And just making sure that you protect yes ma'am, the boundaries. So yeah. And then, and like I said, internalizing it shows up in other ways. It shows up with displaced anger. It shows up in just broken relationships. It goes back to the healing. If you don't allow that healing process to begin, like Miss D said, it's a process. So it's not going to happen overnight. Or as that was Amelia, it's not going to happen overnight, but you have to at least allow it to begin. And if you don't allow it to begin, please believe it's going to show up in other ways.
Yes. Yep.
And the other thing too is, don't let people make you feel like, well, you're a Christian, you're supposed to forgive. Like,
girl, come up here, honey. Yeah, freaking now.
People try to put you in that bag. No, that's
lies.
Yep.
Because forgiveness is a process too. Yeah, you don't just wake up and forgive. That's the process. Yeah.
Yep. They call me a rebellious Christian.
I second that motion. I second
and
it.
because again,
Proud
I
of
love
it.
God, and I pray you under a bench, and I know it. But there have been some of my saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled friends,
Honey.
well, I have had to break them all the way down with all of that. Gone somewhere with all of that. You need to speak. You need to talk. You need to say it. You need to allow the process. You need to therapy or write or whatever it is you need to do. But all of that, I'm just gonna pray to the Lord. And the Bible says, wisdom in all thy things. Wisdom. You need to. You can pray, but you need to have wisdom. So yeah, they call me a rebellious Christian. Praise the Lord. I'm done.
That reminds me of something that I would hear. I think, Mom, you would say too, like, pray to God, you know, have a relationship with God. God is going to help you through things, but there's also the part that you have to do for yourself.
Come on, girl.
So
he won't. He won't.
Right. So, you know, God can meet you, you know, that's the thing. God meets you where you are, which means you have to do something to get to that point in order for him to meet you where you are. You have to still do your part. Regardless, God is going to be there. He's going to bring you through it. But like that goes back to what I said earlier. Like my mom used to say, it's always a fork in the road. You can go one way or you can go the other way. If you choose the hard way, then I mean, well, it's there. But God is already there waiting for you to get to the point that you need to be at to help. But you have to do your part at the end of the day. So, yep, that's it.
Yes, all great things. I'm speechless. Everybody, you know, everybody's saying so many good things. And I think just a little bit of a backtrack, but also a segue. All these different methods of healing, being patient with the healing process, and building a relationship with God. I think all of those will help you to, because some of us know our purpose, some of us know what we're here for, but I think God always shows us different ways we can be used in our purpose, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so even when you're going through something, you're able to overcome the adversity and then still reach what your purpose was that he intended you to be here for, if that makes sense. I say that right? Is that clear? Like, okay. So yes, I think just all very good points, in just being motivated and finding help in other people, or like you were saying, Miss Lady P was saying, in athletics or in reading, in writing. Don't ever give up. Like Miss D was saying, don't lose faith. Just keep pushing forward. Do we have any other questions or comments or concerns?
Actually, I got one last thing. I just saw this question that someone sent to me. And I'm not going to say who it was, I'll just do that privately. But it just says, my question is, as a child, you don't realize what is happening to you. How or when did you realize the seriousness of it? So, like I said, I was 3 years old when I was raped by my cousin. I did not, at that age, understand. I remember what happened, but honestly, I did not realize the seriousness of it until I was well into adulthood. Like, I knew what happened, never really talked about it. But once I realized that it was actual rape, it just, like, I wouldn't even say that word for a long time. And it just kind of opened my eyes to, like, wow, this, like, what happened to you was serious. Right. And the only reason why I told my story, and I'll make this quick, I'm not trying to prolong it, because I was at church and my pastor was teaching on a story in the Bible of Tamar and Amnon. If you guys don't know the story, it's in 2 Samuel. It's 2 Samuel 13, I believe. And Tamar had a brother, Amnon, and Amnon had a lust for her, and he ended up raping her. And so my pastor told that story, and at that moment, God said, it's time for you to tell. And honestly, I think that is when I realized how serious it was. because I just kind of went on with life, was like, okay, you know, you're young. You don't know that this don't happen to everybody. You just kind of move on. So when I really acknowledged like, hey, Dee, you were raped at 3 years old. And once I did, and like I said, I was well into adulthood, then I was able to begin that journey because I acknowledged the truth of what happened. So, and everyone does it at different times in life. I'm not saying that you will in adulthood, you know, it might be when you're a teenager, but it took me to really acknowledge the truth of what happened to me. So I hope that answers your question.
Awesome. Yes.
And Dee, if I've often done messages using Tamar as an example, and I mean, even in the Bible, it talks about her going and living, you know, like a desolate woman, like her life was over.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be our life. So I'm like, looking at her story, there's more that we have to do. I mean, I feel like sometimes, you know, God, you trusted me enough to think that I would be strong enough to survive a situation like this. And so now what am I supposed to do with this? Like now you're supposed to be a voice for others and to be an example to show that there is life after incidents that can take some people out. We know some people, that's why I read all those books. We know seeing girls turn to prostitution and drinking and drugs and all the things they do to self-medicate other than journaling and writing poems and getting it out in some other positive way. We have to, I mean, once those of us who are strong enough or mentally strong enough, and then so physically strong enough, we owe God for being with us through it. And then we owe others who are struggling and can't find that strength. And like I said, just by being a voice and being somebody they can lean on, they can see they don't have to be like Tamar and just give up on life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. Man. Yes, it's been very insightful and encouraging. I really thank you all. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Zoom, but there is an option to have the conversation recorded so that it can be posted on YouTube or Facebook. I just wanted to make sure I get everyone's consent that it's okay to share it on YouTube. Just so, like we were saying over and over again, multiple people can hear the conversation and be encouraged and understand they're not alone. So thank you for joining us. If there's not any other questions, I think we're gonna close out our first roundtable conversation. And again, thank you, Miss Lady P. Thank you, Miss D. It's lovely working with you all. Thank you for all of our supporters in our audience and the awesome feedback. It was a great time. Definitely exceeded my expectations. So yes, I think we'll just close out here.
Right. Thank you, ladies. Love you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Stay safe, everybody.
Yeah, stay safe. Stay hydrated.
Stay safe, stay hydrated, all that.
Yes, yes.
God bless you all. This is
all right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.